So I wanted to talk now about omega males and the omega male personality type, since I think that this is a category that I very much insecurely fall into. This authentic, impulsive, what are the other non-judgmental and welcoming type of man who's the polar opposite of the alpha male. And yeah, I've never really experienced alpha male desire in me. I've never experienced any desire to be a captain of a sports team or the CEO of a large company, even though, like, well, I've since developed actually the ambition to be the CEO of a company. And I've actually been the CEO of many companies in my time, or several companies, publishing house, political social networking site, um, yeah, and now Astrodyne Rocketjet, my space engineering firm that I'm trying to get off the ground. No pun intended. But yeah, I've never really felt that I am a sort of alpha male type by any stretch of the imagination. And the omega male is like kind of like very much treated as a pejorative now, isn't it? You can even see an omega symbol on my wall back there if you can squint closely enough. It's yeah, a sort of bizarre little social movement I tried to start after COVID. The symbol of a rising sun, possibly, or a new dawn for civilization, or a new dawn for humanity. And hopefully it could be, something a little bit more inspiring than the Great Reset or whatever else it was that the World Economic Forum were trying to talk about. But yeah, I thought, as a grassroots social movement of Omega males and anyone else who wants to join, because Omega males, after all, welcoming. So we sponsor anybody potentially as an Omega male, and we form 50% of the population of males. So I guess we're not to be trifled with either, and we needn't be led, I don't think, by alpha males. I think we can have a much more laissez-faire kind of society and a much more welcoming, open, tolerant sort of society which exhibits no small degree of strength and compassion and control of oneself, and if need be, control of others. But we needn't be these sort of gym bunny, pumped, dench, hench, everyone trying to be the alpha male type alpha males, and we need to preserve bohemianism and uh, the slenderer, skinnier sort of waif-like creatures that drift among us in masculine culture, and we needn't be, you know, all alphas, because that would be an absurd society now, wouldn't it? And yeah, I think, well, I think we need this. I think we need something like what I'm trying to get off the ground in terms of this Omega project idea that I've had annexed to Astrodyne Rocketjet of fusion energy in space, which is what I was trying to yeah, form under the general rubric of the Omega project. But also the Omega project could be the political social networking site again. And I'd like to get a hold of the domain name theomegaproject.com or omegaproject.com and have it as the political social network where we form a manifesto of everything that we desire to have changed in the world and set about changing it and set about trying to find sound leadership from among our ranks. And I think that the best sort of leaders, and this was the point of the political social networking site in the first instance, that the best sort of leaders we can find among us are the ones who wouldn't want to be in control, are the ones who wouldn't seize power. Um, and therefore we must have a system of representation by nomination, and that we must choose from among us people we want to represent us, and not necessarily force people into being in positions of leadership if they don't want to be, but encourage them to take on positions of authority and power um, where they otherwise might not do. And we don't need this culture of career politicians and careerist statespeople dominating the scene. We don't need alpha male politics at all, I don't think. And we need more omega male politics, which, yes, I think involves us looking at our community, looking at the people we value in our community, and sponsoring and nominating them and sponsoring them to be the leaders of our communities. So I think on one level, and well, yes, I will need money for all these things ultimately. So I do need to, well, really, I need to link up with someone like Elon Musk, if not Elon Musk personally. But I don't know how to go about approaching that sort of proposition. I mean, well, I have to interest him somehow, and I have the things that I think he needs, which are like fusion energy in space and so on, and fusion propulsion. Worked on that idea, space elevator. Those should be the directions that SpaceX goes towards. But who am I? Who am I to be saying anything? Who am I to be before the feet of the great man, right? I'm just a nobody. I've done nothing with my life. Well, I haven't done nothing with my life. That's the thing. I've started 3 businesses. 2 which are, well, not failures as such, but I mean, things I'd like to continue doing in the future. Eschaton Publishing, which I thought was a great brand, or a very nice, recognisable brand. Then got Astrodyne Rocketjet. Then got myfesto.com, which was mymanifesto.com, right? So where we just choose policies based on popularity and draw up a collective manifesto for a given location, right? Where it's, you have up and down buttons on the sort of the policy description. That's what I was trying to get off the ground. I got a beta version of the website done, but nothing yet. It didn't really take off at all, unfortunately. But then again, it was just me working on it, and no one else wanted to work with me on it, it seemed, which is pretty unfortunate. And I don't really know where to go from here without help. I do need help from people. I do need help from, well, not the mental health establishment, but from the business community, and from the community of engineers, physicists, computer scientists, to put all this stuff together. Oh, Samuel fucking Ashcroft, computer scientist, isn't he? If you're watching, you strange little man, like, yeah, you can be part of it if you'd like to be part of it. You seem to be very interested in these videos. You seem to be, generally speaking, enthused with the sorts of things I've been talking about. Yeah, you could very well head up the political social media platform, I reckon, and have a good operating knowledge of things such as coding, programming, and whatever that I just lack because I can't code. And I'd have to be the sort of Steve Jobs-ish person in the background. But then again, he's just one prospect. There could be many other people who want to do that. And do I have to try this again, this political social media platform? This revolutionary idea. We have representation by nomination on the one hand, so people have profiles filled out for them who we want to nominate to be our leaders. And then we also have a publicly operating manifesto that is based on popular interest. So the most popular policies get wedged to the top of the algorithm, and it either becomes some sort of obscene joke or it'd be something that people would take seriously. In any case, it could work to, well, be a popular thing on the internet, I think. And yeah, I mean, well, I had the domain name Myfesto for a couple of years. I don't want to call it that really anymore. I want it to be called something else. The Omega project sounds very cool, but it's about $4,000 for the domain name, and I have $4,000 in my bank account. I can't afford to lose $4,000, so I need to borrow money to buy the domain name, then have office space and what have you, and then it's so hard. So hard running a fucking business. I mean, what I do, I suppose everything I do that isn't, paid employment is my business. So all the writing I do, that's all business. All the websites I've designed and put out there, that's all business stuff. All the social media stuff, that's business stuff as well. So I'm at least working hard at all this, but I'm failing to connect and cooperate with people who also want to do the same thing. I'm failing to identify who those people are and select them from among my coterie of people who I've known in the past, because they just all think that I'm delusional, mentally ill, horribly unstable, impossible to work with, hence, and I'd like to dispel that sort of thinking. But then again, I'd need to stay on medication really to be stable, I think, and to be responsible, and to be trustworthy in a position of authority like that at the head of a business enterprise. But then again, I'm the person who's been coming up with all these ideas. So I'm the person who, I don't think anyone else is really talking about space-based fusion energy at all, even though it makes a huge amount of sense. Of course, not the person who's thought of the warp drive before. So it's got the Cougar-Blitz engine, the Alcubierre drive, the direct fusion drive, which is not a warp drive, but which is a space engine utilising fusion energy. I just sort of a novel concept of having a fusion combustion chamber. I think a novel concept of a fusion combustion chamber run through a railgun, basically to accelerate the fused particles to light speed, and thereby create, well, not an Alcubierre drive, nothing about warping space-time around the ship, but just driving fused particles out at basically the speed of light, to hopefully get the craft to go in the speed of light the other direction via Newton's third law. This is very rambling, this video. I do appreciate that, but initially on the topic of Amiga mails, got onto the topic of Amiga project, my company, my business interests. Or do I just not do all this? Do I not try Astrodyne Rocketjet? That element of things. I think I should try it. I've thought to do it, so I should try, I think. I mean, what could come down the line as a result of it? Plastic fighter planes, hybrid rockets, and obviously jet engine propulsion technologies integrated into the same crafts. So they can fly Mach 7 into a combat zone, sweep around other enemy aircraft very quickly and effectively, pepper them with bullets and so they fall out of the sky, and depart the combat zone very quickly with rocket engines, and they're in the combat zone using scramjets or ramjets, which might not even be necessary. Well, it would be necessary. You can set down air brakes somehow. And these sorts of considerations go racing through my mind. Also, so you get to kind of picture my internal landscape. Huge tower, 160 kilometers high, jet engines, lift balloons until 120,000 feet, then rocket engines in the mesosphere, then out in space, ion thrusters, propulsion, solar panels and so on. Maybe. Or whatever the most effective thing is, how you get more rocket engines, possibly. You can get a huge amount more cargo into space, have a huge space station at the top of it, get craft going to and from Mars all the time. We would need that if we were colonizing Mars for real, if we had real Martian cities and things. We would eventually have that sort of thing. It's worth thinking about now, doing these things. It really is. I mean, the Japanese say they're going to do it by 2040. I believe them. I believe they'll accomplish it. If they've got carbon nanotubule technology, they'll certainly accomplish it, probably. And, well, I mean, if they do it by 2040, why not do it sooner? Surely we have more space capability than they do, frankly. With NASA and the ESA, I mean, JAXA is very accomplished, but we have been doing it for longer. I think we're more experienced with it in Europe and so on. that said, this latest thing they landed on the moon from the NASA mission sort of fell over, didn't it? Lopsided. Bit of an embarrassment compared to Chandrayaan 3. And then, who will it be to build the first space tower? Will it be India? Will it be China and Japan? It might well be. I think the idea with balloons and jet engines, to steer it against the 250-mile-an-hour winds of the upper stratosphere, and even carbon nanotube, well, they might be able to take it actually. I think Japanese might have a better design than we do with the Obayashi Corporation. Still, I just like the balloons and the jet engines. I do very advanced computer algorithms steering it all, and rocket engines in the mesosphere. Yes. I think it would work. Lovely black on white colouring. I love it. SpaceX colours. Also necessary because planes need to be able to see it. Pilots of aircraft need to be able to see it so they don't smack into the thing. Fly around it. So it's got to be black and white, like the Saturn V or something. Lots of things are possible. That's what I know. That's my level of, well, the sort of operating knowledge that I have in engineering and physics and things, and like that's been going on my whole life. I've always had a fascination with aircraft ever since I was a kid. And trains, planes, automobiles, ships. It's all been fascinating to me ever since I was young. So it's that knowledge and all, that stuff integrated now into adulthood. So I have been learning my entire life on a level. And I do have some mechanical skill from farming, having grown up on a farm. That's not to be discounted either. What could I do? What could I accomplish with the right backing and support and company? People to do something with, people to work with, work alongside, to work with me. I almost had one person who was great, who could have been a real asset to our the business. The Astrodyne Rocketjet. She would have been awesome. As would have, many other people I know, but possibly. I just don't talk to me. It's fucked up, but it's not her then somebody else, I guess. Made fucking mistakes. Stupid Amsterdam excursion, running away from somebody who I thought was a friend, who I thought was trying to harm me. Getting fucking sectioned again when I came back. I obviously drove her off. Anyway, the ideas are out there. In any case, maybe that's just good enough. Or, I want the name though, Astrodyne Rocketjet. I just think it's a great name. I think it's a really cool sounding company name. It's cooler sounding than SpaceX, I think. SpaceX just seems a bit unimaginative to me. If anything, it should be Space Y, because it's the Y-axis, right? Going upwards. No. Also spacey. Spacey McSpace Race. Is a little bit better than SpaceX, I think. And calling Twitter just X, that is really unimaginative. That is just there's no branding quality to that at all. No real thought went into just calling Twitter X. None at all. It's just X? Where are you going to get X from as a domain name? Does he even have it? That's what I'm tempted to say. Does Elon Musk even have that domain name? Can he afford it? I mean, who's bought up that domain name? Just X.com. Like that's the sort of thing like I don't know, some hedge fund owns, and they're like just going woohoo, dangling it in front of him and say $100 billion for this. So he can't realistically change it from Twitter, or he's probably trying to haggle with the domain name Twitter. And if he loses the domain name Twitter, the first thing that will happen is just a copy of Twitter pops up on the internet, and Twitter's restored to compete with X.com. So he can't do it, so his balls are in a vice. And he shouldn't have bought Twitter. What was he really doing when he was trying to like buy Twitter? Was he trying to find out whether like the coiling nest of leftist blue-haired activists ended up like descending into, and what was at the root of it or whatever? I don't know. Oh, yeah. Just, it personally annoyed him and peeved him, so he bought it because like it, yeah, like irascible rhetoric and confrontational leftist types do annoy everybody. That's just the truth. But I think they even annoy themselves. No, but maybe we can be grown-ups about it and move forward. Fuck, man, I'd love to work with Elon Musk. I'd love to have his patronage. Then again, who wouldn't? Then again, I think, well, the ideas deserve it. I think he should be looking into things like building space towers. I think he should be looking into things like fusion propulsion and fusion energy in space. If for no other reason, fusion in space, right? Warm Mars up a bit. Have it like a bottled little star in orbit around Mars contained with magnetic field generators, and so on and so forth. It should be a central part of his plan. It's actually something he's missing that he needs. So if I achieve nothing else from these videos, I need to send a very strong signal to Elon Musk somehow that to terraform Mars you need fusion energy in space around Mars. He sort of knows that anyway because he's talking about exploding hydrogen bombs above Mars, but you can't do that sort of thing indefinitely. You know what I mean? Because you have the EMPs and the radiation spilling out from the nuclear explosions, right? Fucking up everything on the ground, all the communications things and whatnot. You need magnetic field generators surrounding a little bottled star to let just light out, and infrared and whatever else we need for heating up Mars. You know what I mean? You can't just have nuclear explosions. You fuck up everything on the ground with nukes. It's not ideal. Just exploding hydrogen bombs in space is like, you need a very well controlled explosion, i.e. a small star, i.e. a fusion reactor. But that sort of technology is within reach, I bet. I bet it is. I bet we could do it within the next 10 years. I bet we could, within 5 years, get an experimental fusion device working in space. Something about the size of the MIT spark reactor or something they called it. I can't remember a really small fusion reactor they were working on at MIT. The smallest ever fusion device. One of those size devices just in space, just a wee little one. You can launch with one Starship launch, right? I'm just rambling on camera, that's all this really is. But it's good to ramble, I think. It's good to think about these things. Something I'm passionate about. Ignites, deep passions within me, deep, thoughts of, well, colonising alien worlds, space exploration, all this great stuff I love. Why not go for it? And be courageous and go for it? Or is it a fool's errand doomed to failure? Or what's doomed to failure? It seems very unlikely to work. But then again, is an experimental fusion device in space around Mars unlikely to work? Or is it necessary that it does work for terraforming Mars? And then you just get the naysaying in the back of your head, these little, voices in my head. It'll never work, terraforming Mars is impossible. probably something impossible. That's what people think it is. It isn't. It is possible, and Elon Musk knows that. And he can build the rockets. You know, he has been building rockets, and even he thought he'd never be able to do it with his level of financial backing and so on and so forth. And, you know, his level of wealth, he never thought he'd be able to do it. But Jesus, he's done it all. And maybe it's on that sort of level that I think I can't at the moment. But I actually can. And I just need to keep pushing. And keep going for it. And maybe I will do that. And yeah, do it in spite of the naysayers. But how to do it? That's the major thing. How? I can't do it on my own. That's for damn certain. I need some people involved in it with me. But then again, New Dawn, right? The next era of human progress. The next stage of Western civilization. To build rockets the size of the Empire State Building. We can do that. We'll do that one day. It might as well be soon. Incorporate that 3D printing of rocket technology from relativity space. Use hemp thermoplastic in the process of it. You know, use a huge 3D printer to construct enormous rockets. In addition to a space elevator. That's what I think will end up happening one day. You know, we'll be using the space elevator for cargo transits to and from space, as well as launching rockets to get out into orbit very quickly, to not have so much fucking around in the spaceports and whatever, and just get something out of orbit very fast. If we say going to the outer solar system, it will be from rockets and the space elevator to carry cargo to and from the space stations up beyond the Kármán line. I am sort of picturing it in my head. It's very, very sophisticated what we could end up doing, I think. And necessary for colonizing Mars. Necessary for sustaining civilization on Mars. We will need rockets, spacecraft going to and from Mars constantly. And we might as well have a space elevator on Mars as well if we're going to do it on Earth. And thank you for watching this video.